At the museum, we talk about human rights. We talk about the fact that we all have different perspectives and ideas on what that means. But we want to come together and share one another's stories to learn about those different perspectives and ideas, in the hopes that we are going to gain an understanding and respect for one another's ideas. And through dialogue, we can move forward into a better life together.
Why am I not allowed in here again? I just would like to get to the fourth floor.
Because of the public health order.
I want it. Public health order for what?
This is the only museum in North America of human rights.
I never thought I'd see it in this country. I never thought I would see, as my wife said, South Africa of yesterdecade being implemented here, not based on racial segregation, but medical segregation. Guess what? They're both wrong. They're both egregious. They're both odious.
So many people standing outside trying to get in. Then why are you guys protecting them? You guys should be walking every one of these guys in by hand into this building, though.
Yeah, and Sid, I'm trying to figure out what the end goal here is. I mean, as I said in the intro, the irony is so perverse and so off the charts. I've never been to the Canadian Human Rights Museum, but I would imagine there's all kinds of exhibits about segregation, about maybe the Jim Crow laws in the South in the U.S. of yesterdecade. Certainly about apartheid. And I mean, I know a little about apartheid. I've been to South Africa. My wife is a South African. She once made the observation when all these vax passports were kicking in, she feels like she's back in South Africa circa 1976. But instead of racial segregation, it's medical segregation. I don't think that's right either. And I mean, you'd think if there was one place, one edifice in Canada that would welcome everybody, regardless of race, color, creed, religion, and vaccination status, it would be the Canadian Human Rights Museum. But that's not the case.
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, as you know, if you've seen the video, I wasn't allowed to actually see these exhibits either. But there was a little bit of information on their website, some of the stories, and they have like a bit of an educational platform online, and they tell you to do the virtual tour. But I just want to read you a quick little thing from their website in their stories. It's a story called Us Versus Them, The Process of Othering. And it says, people are different. We can use our differences as an opportunity to share and learn, or we can use our differences as an excuse to build walls between us. When we highlight differences between groups of people to increase suspicion of them, to insult them, or to exclude them, we are going down a path known as othering. So it just goes to show you how blind they are to what they're doing.
It's outrageous. And by the way, Sid, I'm done with virtual this and virtual that. I want to go and do things hands-on. I want to party like it's 2019. But you know what? Maybe here's a suggestion for the Canadian Human Rights Museum. Why don't we have, say one day a week, Wednesday, where it's the unvaccinated only. The staff there can wear hazmat suits because obviously this is a congregation of typhoid Marys, and just have them come in. I wonder how they would respond to that. But one last question, Sid. What I find particularly bothersome about this, I gave you the example of shopping malls that are open to the unvaxxed and it's no problem. Those are, while the public's are allowed in, those are private property edifices. They're owned by corporations. The Canadian Human Rights Museum, I am positive, has dined out on taxpayer pork to get that edifice up there. So what I'm saying is that you and I and anyone else who is unvaxxed but a taxpayer, we have skin in the game. And I think based on that, we should not be restricted entry into this museum.
No, absolutely. And Troy, the fellow I interviewed, the person behind the camera made that comment as well. And I think it's exactly on the money. And to your point, what you're saying about how maybe they should have one day a week where us unvaccinated swine are allowed in. I actually asked the security guard, and I was like, hey, is there like a day where I can come or anything like that? But definitely not. But it makes sense because that would kind of showcase the fact that they are segregating people. But that also goes to show that what we have now is worse than segregation.
100%. I never thought I'd see it in this country. I never thought I would see, as my wife said, South Africa of yesterdecade being implemented here, not based on racial segregation, but medical segregation. Guess what? They're both wrong. They're both egregious. They're both odious. Hey folks, that was an excerpt from my show, Rebel Roundup. Now, to get the full meal deal, why not go to Rebel News Plus, sign up, and never miss a Rebel News Plus show in the future.